from Malcolm Gladwell. It's the tipping point. And this is exactly what I saw in bigger companies. It's around 70 employees, where if a team gets bigger than that, it starts getting big and bureaucratic and bulky. And so when I started in consumer, we were small, we were nimble. And I think what happens is people let departments or companies or sizes just get too big without keeping them small and nimble. And that's one of the things when I started ROI Swift, this agency, I said, we are never going to have that type of bureaucracy that, we're not going to be fighting over bonuses and we're not going to be competing with each other internally. And so I think, the way to sustain that culture is to kind of keep those small teams and have it sort of permeate throughout. Like I'll tell you, here's a great brand that we worked with, Tecovas. They're a cowboy boot company, Western wear company. They were 2 guys in a WeWork when we started. We took them from 0 to, 10 figures in 12 months. And I'll tell you, they've done a really good job by hiring people that fit their core values and their culture. And you walk into any one of their stores, whether it's in Nashville, whether it's in Austin, whether it's in San Francisco, and you're going to get that same awesome experience. You walk in, they ask if you want a whiskey. They've got boot shine stand set up for you. I mean, they've done a really good job of replicating because they brought in a really great head of retail. And that head of retail has sort of hired the right people and created the right experience for the brand, with staying true to their core handmade, high quality Western wear at an honest price. And they get behind that and they stand behind it, whether they're 2 people in a WeWork and now they're over $200 million.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Winner's Circle podcast with Jay Adewole. You already know how I do my thing and I will do the thing. Our goal is for greatness. Our goal is for leadership and entrepreneurship. At the Winner's Circle, we explore the latest insights and strategies in business and leadership. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Carolyn Lowe. She's the founder and CEO of ROI Swift, a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping consumer brand scale sustainably. Our extensive background working for Fortune 100 companies and our passion for empowering small businesses is, you can't even measure it. Caroline has been instrumental in helping over 200 brands achieve their growth and also their goals. She also authored Business Growth, Do's, and Absolute Don'ts, which offers invaluable lessons for entrepreneurs navigating the competitive world of business. So if you're an entrepreneur, that book is actually the book you need to read. So today, Caroline will share her expertise on the topic that we have today, which is how to apply Fortune 100 thinking to your 7-figure business. The listeners, the winners, just like the way I call you guys, let's welcome Carolyn Lowe. All right. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
All right. So let's quickly, move forward a little bit. To understand the path to success, it's very essential to learn about the journey that shaped the leaders. If you look at your transition from the Fortune 100 to entrepreneurship, I've gone through some of your profile and I can see it's very inspiring and filled with a lot of valuable lessons. So I'm just going to throw it to you, Carolyn. Could you share a bit about your journey from working with a Fortune 100 companies to founding ROI Swift? How's the journey like?
Yeah. So I think everybody has an interesting story, Jay, and I love hearing founders' stories across the board. I was what I call the accidental entrepreneur. My background, Dell moved me down in 1999 from Boston to Austin, Texas. And to run direct marketing. So this was 1999. I'm dating myself here. People were buying their first computer. iPhones didn't exist. So, if you can go back to the dark ages, I was a direct mail expert. Before there was direct marketing, there was always direct mail. It's the same principles, just the medium has moved from catalog to, Instagram and TikTok. So I ran a bunch of divisions there, and I was running a $2 billion division, monitors, projectors, and televisions. And I had a variety of roles at Dell and had the opportunity to travel the world. But at some point, just making another $1 million a day for Michael Dell just wasn't inspiring anymore. It's real hard to get up and do that. I had amazing opportunities. I worked with the CEO of Costco at the time. I mean, folks try so hard to get into Costco as brands, and they were, begging us to come. And so I had this amazing experience. But after I left Dell, and then I ran global marketing and events for a research company in the display industry. And then I had my first child in 2007, and traveling around the world with a newborn, I don't recommend. So I just did some consulting for some great brands like Callaway Golf and DirecTV and Qualcomm and others. And then I went to go to work in 2014 for a mom and baby company. And they were this little $3 million brand. They've been stuck at $3 million for 10 years. I was their entire marketing team. I ran their Google, Facebook. I moved them to Shopify. This is 10 years ago. And then they had this fledgling little Amazon business that was doing $10,000 a month. So I took that, harnessed it, grew it to like $400,000 a month. And I said, this is really fun. So 4x them in 1 year. And then I said, I want to do this for a lot of other brands. So I started the agency, and I never set out to start a business, but I got really passionate about helping these brands that are 3 to 30 million really grow and accelerate. And 5 of the brands we've worked with have already been acquired. So that's, I sort of say I make other people millionaires and billionaires.
The story is very, very powerful, because if you have a great job that's giving you good numbers and you want to go into the entrepreneurship world, sometimes entrepreneurship world is like going to the unknown. It could go right or wrong, and it's, you have to work extra hours, which is a very strong move you made over there. So, but I just want to do a follow-up question. When I went through your profile, I saw that you focus more, not all, but more on small business, helping small business grow. So how has the journey been so far, especially when you're dealing with small businesses?
The journey's been incredible. I mean, we don't work with true startups because usually they don't have the funds to to hire our team of experts. But it's been phenomenal. I can't tell you how many success stories we have across so many verticals. And the other thing is, there's so many bad apples in any industry, right? There's people who claim to be the best CMOs in the world or the best, Google agency in the world. I was on a Zoom with Richard Branson of Virgin Group, and someone asked him why he exited a business. And he said, because we're not the best at it. And that really resonated with me. And I said, everything that's going on with first party cookies and Meta and losing credit card data and all the things that have happened makes it really hard to be the best at Meta advertising, right? And a lot of regulations going on, and potentially with TikTok. We said, you know what? We're the best at Amazon. We're going to go 100% Amazon. And so back in July, we did that. We actually terminated our contracts with some really amazing household brand names that you would know, because we say we're going to be the best, and we are the best at this, and this is all we're going to do. And I see too many people try to do things that they're not the best at, right? Product line extensions. I think a great example is Sean from Dude Wipes. I mean, he's not making chick wipes. He's only making dude wipes, and he's true to his brand and true to who he is. He said, we were both speaking at a conference for Amazon, and he said, I'm not going to make chick wipes. I'm only going to make dude wipes.
So it's more focused on a niche, right?
Yeah. Focus on what you're good at.
Hmm.
We tried to do that at Dell. When I had televisions, we didn't make a great product, and we didn't have any marketing budget behind it, and you knew it was going to fail. And it's like, let's double down on what we're really good at rather than trying to do these product line extensions where we're not very good at it. And there's a reason you can't buy a Dell TV today, because they weren't great products. Someone just said, hey, this is a $30 billion market. We can go get 10%. That'll add $10 billion to our revenue. it's not just math, like the way people buy TVs is very different than the way people buy computers. And, the strategy at the time didn't understand that people buy computers very differently than they buy televisions.
Yes, you're right. The way the market of the TV is different from the one for computer, and whatever you offer. So, I was just going to do another question. The topic for today is talking about Fortune 100, which is applying to your business, so the thinking, the mentality. So, if I'm going to ask you a direct question, how would you define Fortune 100 thinking? And why is it very important for small business owners?
What I learned the most, people say, I got my MBA from Dell. I could look immediately at any P&L and tell you what's going on in that business, right? And you'd be amazed how many people are running $30 million companies. We go into their Amazon business and they're losing money. And we say, why are you doing this? Like there's a SKU level economics report. So the biggest thing that I got from Fortune 100 is, one, obviously you got to think big. And two, you have to make sure that like what you're doing is profitable growth, especially in this time where money is not cheap anymore. And, VCs are much more diligent about just top line. They don't care about top line. They're like, no, I want to see your EBITDA numbers. I want to see 30% EBITDA, so this is where I think the Fortune 100 thinking really helped me, because we look at brands. We had a brand doing $30,000 a month. It was a $30 million company outside of Amazon. They were doing $30,000 a month unprofitably on Amazon. I sat down with the CEO and I said, Curtis, you would make more money if you just stopped selling 100% on Amazon, these products. And so we redid their sizes and we optimized for profitability. So the lowest Amazon fees for the highest, gross margin profit to the brand. And then they went on and they did 8 million a year on Amazon. It was a rounding error that they were doing unprofitably. So you'd be surprised that, 30, 40, $50 million companies don't think like P&L owners. And so we at Dell had a saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so we measure everything in our business.
That's great and that's powerful. So now let's talk about principles and strategies, because if you look at Fortune 100 companies, they always have their own principles and they bring in their own strategies, and even every other business should also have that, because the best strategies, as we all know, are often rooted in proven practices, especially of probably you talk about industry giants, the person that done that and all that. So the question we will now say is, what can small business adapt from these big players to drive growth? That would be the question. So what exactly can they adapt?
So I think there's a couple strategies, right? When you're big, like Amazon or Dell, you got to make big moves. And so if you look at acquisition strategies, so one thing I feel like smaller businesses can take from Fortune 100s is really strategic acquisitions, right? Amazon knew that they were never going to be able to compete in grocery, but that's a huge market. So what did they do? They went and bought Whole Foods, right? So, and you don't have to do it on the level of buying a national grocery chain if you're a smaller business, but what makes sense for you to add on? Does it make sense to do some strategic acquisitions to grow? Do you want to grow organically? Do you want to grow by acquisition? So I think a lot of those things make a lot of sense. And then what I see across the board Fortune 100s doing is obviously global expansion. A lot of my colleagues worked in multiple areas around the globe. I traveled to Singapore a lot. So I think the world is getting smaller. So I think that that's another thing that you can potentially take from that. The other thing to be cautious of too is just what's going to happen with the new administration in January and tariffs. So I think any brand that is making physical products overseas should really be looking at 3 or 4 different new manufacturing strategies depending on what these tariffs shake out as. So I think that'll have real impacts on consumers. But, what the Fortune 100 brands did, we moved our product group to Singapore to save 14% on taxes. So by moving, there's all these different tax incentives, right? So I think that's what the Fortune 100 companies all know is taking advantage of a lot of these tax savings, manufacturing savings. Small businesses can do the same.
You're right. Small business can do the same. And when you talk about tariff, I know like from next year January, we hope, because I have quite a number of clients that they're into manufacturing. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. That's why I'm going to keep that word. So now let's talk about mistakes, because I always tell people, fail forward. Learning from mistake, to me, is a hallmark of growth. It's just something you need to, make one or two, but not so much. Or sometimes you get the expert, so you don't have to make the mistake. So now I feel understanding common pitfall can help new entrepreneurs to avoid, costly missteps, because there's some mistakes or missteps you can make that you might not recover from, and that's the end of your business. So for you, what are some common mistakes you see small businesses making when trying to scale?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. So I see them throw good money, like spend a lot of money on advertising without doing certain things first, whether it's their own website or whether it's Amazon. They throw money at advertising after a bad product page. That's the first thing that, you can do. I always say is like, you can't put lipstick on a pig. For many, many years, I tried to put, lipstick on a pig of Dell televisions, and they weren't, they were missing this little connector that all the hotel brands needed. So we couldn't sell them into any of our major hotel chain partners, right? So the first thing that I always see people do is they make what they think customers want instead of actually asking them what they want. And we did the same thing at Dell, right? We made this television that we went off in a vacuum in the product group and made a television, and it didn't meet the needs of 90% of our customers. And that's why you can't buy a Dell television. So, I did this great project for an amazing brand called Jay Adewole. They're men's custom clothing. They come to your house, they measure you. You get an Armani quality pattern match better than Armani for half the prices, stuff that would fit you, wouldn't even fit you off the rack at Nordstrom. I did a massive project with them where we surveyed their 30,000 customers. So I did a quantitative and then I did some qualitative interviews. And what I uncovered was that they had an early on product quality issue that they didn't even know about. They just thought, those shirts were from not a great manufacturer. Well, they didn't realize how they had lost a huge segment of their customer base. And I was like, you really got to do a win back campaigns. The thing that I see the most is that people don't listen to their customers. They don't give their customers what they want. They give them what they think they want, but they don't even ask them.
So they give their customers what they think they want. They don't even ask them. So there's no feedback. That's a very important. I feel just my own note for the listeners. You need to understand that this is a point you need to actually draft down and make sure you start asking your customers what do they want. Sometimes you'll be able to streamline what you're offering them instead of just in thinking this is what they want. You need to take note of that. And also, marketing is very, very important. As a matter of fact, marketing is the lifeblood of business growth. We all know that. So I want to discover how aligning marketing efforts with growth goals can propel a business forward. All right. So I'm just going to ask you now. So how can business better align their marketing strategies with their growth goals?
Yeah. So I think it really depends on where you are in your journey, right? So when I was at Dell, our consumer business when I joined was number 8 in market share behind a company called Gateway, and who's out of business now. They made the boxes that look like cows. So what I noticed is that what our marketing goals were, we used a lot of data and a lot of analysis to when I would mail you a catalog, I knew if you were going to buy a printer, I knew if you were going to buy a laptop or a desktop, like I knew everything about you. I think using market intelligence, and there's so much AI out there today that you can use, using market intelligence will definitely help you drive your growth goals. And I also think, right, you have a fixed marketing budget, right? Most companies have marketing as a percentage of spend. I had a tiny percentage at Dell, but it was a big number because, we were an $8 billion division, but I had 3% because margins on hardware are tiny, right? You're talking less than 20% margins. It's not like clothing. And so you really have to say, okay, whether I have 2 million or 200 million, I need to sort of prioritize those market activities that are going to drive brand awareness, conversion, and consideration, right? So really sort of looking at your whole marketing funnel, right? From awareness to consideration to conversion, and where's the best use of those finite dollars? Because I haven't talked to anybody, Jay, who has an unlimited marketing budget.
So no one has an unlimited marketing budget. There's always a budget. All right. Thank you so much for the insight. Let's just go for a quick break. I'll be right back shortly.
Are you struggling to grow your business? Our consulting firm can help. We specialize in developing strategies to increase profits, improve efficiency, and streamline operations. From startups to established companies, we provide personalized solutions to help your business succeed. Contact us today to schedule a consultation.
All right. For those watching us live, we're right back. There's going to be an advert just real quick for you guys to, check out our sponsors, Point of View Consulting, the sponsor of this show today. Thank you so much for being our sponsor. And thank you for helping us stand strong all through this period. A Point of View Consulting, a consulting firm in New York City. We just say thank you once again for sponsoring this show. So I want to move forward on this question about being an effective leader, all right? Because we all know that leadership is very important for navigating growth. So, what critical qualities should leaders cultivate to ensure their business scale effectively?
I've worked with some amazing leaders. I've worked with 2 different CEOs from Costco. And what I love about the Costco CEOs is that they're extremely humble and they listen to their team. If you look at leaders lead and move obstacles, but they really sort of empower their teams and they trust their teams. And some of the best leaders I've worked with have been billionaires who are the most humble people that I've ever worked with. And so I feel like effective leadership is setting strategy, sticking to that strategy, not going guardrail to guardrail. Here's a shiny object. Here's a squirrel. I'm going to go chase that down. Setting strategy and just letting your team go and be successful and removing roadblocks if you need to. And that's really what I've seen across the board. I've worked with CEOs of so many Fortune 100 companies, and the ones that are great are folks like that. I'd say Michael Dell is one of those people. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's done some pretty amazing things over the last couple decades. I looked at how many lives he's changed, how many jobs he's created in the Austin, Texas area. Still a very humble guy.
So, it's very, very important to always have an idea, have a goal, stick to it, stop jumping about. Today you're selling this and you see another opportunity, you keep on your focus. So, but now let's look at innovation. Sometimes innovation itself, you can have one idea you're working on and somebody bring another innovation because we know that innovation is the engine of progress. All right. So, are you trying to say they should not create a culture that fosters innovation?
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm looking over here at our core values on our wall, and one of our core values is always be learning. And when we interview people, we interview based on core values. And so I feel like skills can be taught, right? If you don't know how to turn on a light, I can teach you how to turn on a light. I can't teach you how to care. And so our core values are make it better, care about what you do, glass half full mindset, and always be learning. And so we constantly challenge each other as a team, like, is there a better way to do this? We take 5 minutes a day. Is there a way that AI could help me do this? Right. And so we ask people in their interviews, how do you keep up to date on trends, in our industry? And we're looking for them to say that these are the podcasts they listen to, these are the articles they read, these are the the websites they follow, those kinds of things. Because if you don't have a learning mindset, people are just going to go, racing by you.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that information. You talk about learning. What are the right tools that can make all the difference? Because the right tools can make all the difference, just like, the the process you do when you're trying to interview somebody to bring them in. You want to know what kind of resources they get to get their knowledge from. What platform and resources should seven-figure businesses leverage for further scaling?
In terms of platforms, because there's so many, right, Jay? Like you can have a product company, you can have a SaaS company, you can have a service business, you could have a physical, retail location. But I think across the board, the first thing you got to do is get all A players, especially if you're a small business, right? Like if you've got less than 20 or 30 employees, it's like every one of those people needs to be an A player. And one of the mistakes I've made over the careers, I've let non-A players stick around for too long. And your A players are always saying to you, what took you so long to, it's hard, right? It's probably the worst thing you have to do is to terminate somebody, but it's the right thing for the health of your company and the health of your team. So first thing I think you got to do is just get all the right people on the bus, right? Get them thinking like owners, get them, caring about what they do, get them thinking like, figure out what their motivations are and motivate them that way. In terms of platforms, I mean, gosh, there's so many different options out there, but, biggest thing for us is to have processes and playbooks, right? So that, somebody new comes in, they can easily follow the process, right? Don't let anything live in everybody's head, right? So Asana, Slack, like, all of the Dropbox, like all of those things are like, like table stakes. If I sort of say if it's not in Asana, I'm not going to do it. If you don't tell me to do it, I'm not going to do it, or if you just walk by and ask me to do something. So I think no matter how big or how small you are, you've got to have documented processes and you've got to have the right people. And then the last thing is just have a great product. So if you have the right people, the right product, and you've got stuff documented and processed, there's no way you're not going to be successful.
So the right product, the right people,
and the right
I think,
processes.
and that's all. So that's all. So that's how easy it could be. So now let's talk about balancing growth with sustainability. Because a lot of businesses don't even measure this. Maybe they just introduce a product and all of a sudden, boom, the business grows. And sustainability becomes a challenge. So what strategy? Because what strategy would you advise businesses to manage that tension that comes with, sudden boom?
Yeah. When you say sustainability, tell me more, Jay. What type of sustainability are you talking about?
To sustain their culture.
Okay. To
Yeah.
sustain their culture. Okay.
Just like the culture you mentioned right now. Talked
Right.
about the things you do, the product and all that. Then all of a sudden they have that boom.
Yes.
And they are like, the company was created to be able to get in maybe $3 million, $4 million, and all of a sudden they are getting in over $300 million, and everything is happening so fast, and they're, I don't know, I'm sure you know what I mean. Like it's just overwhelming, and now this, most businesses lose their culture, and before you know it, down slow. I'm sure you've seen those kind of situations. So that
Yes.
I really want to understand. Yeah.
Yes. And, there's a great book from Malcolm Gladwell. It's The Tipping Point. And this is exactly what I saw in bigger companies. It's around 70 employees, where if a team gets bigger than that, it starts getting big and bureaucratic and bulky. And so when I started in consumer, we were small, we were nimble. And I think what happens is people let departments or companies or sizes just get too big without keeping them small and nimble. And that's one of the things when I started ROI Swift, this agency, I said, we are never going to have that type of bureaucracy that, we're not going to be fighting over bonuses and we're not going to be competing with each other internally. And so I think, the way to sustain that culture is to kind of keep those small teams and have it sort of permeate throughout. Like I'll tell you, here's a great brand that we worked with, Tecovas. They're a cowboy boot company, Western wear company. They were two guys in a WeWork when we started. We took them from 0 to 10 figures in 12 months. And I'll tell you, they've done a really good job by hiring people that fit their core values and their culture. And you walk into any one of their stores, whether it's in Nashville, whether it's in Austin, whether it's in San Francisco, and you're going to get that same awesome experience. You walk in, they ask if you want a whiskey. They've got boot shine stand set up for you. I mean, they've done a really good job of replicating because they brought in a really great head of retail. And that head of retail has sort of hired the right people and created the right experience for the brand, with staying true to their core handmade, high quality Western wear at an honest price. And they get behind that and they stand behind it. Whether they're two people in a WeWork and now they're over $200 million.
That's a big number all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So, and that's the goal. That's what comes with entrepreneurship. Do you have like, seeing what you dreamt of coming to fruition? Maybe if you work in an organization, bureaucracy might not even let it come out to to become a big dream. So you spoke earlier about customer feedback. So I just want to touch base on that again, because we live in a customer centric world, where feedback is very invaluable. So my question will be, how can business harness customer insights for sustainable growth?
Yeah. First thing is, right, if you have a business, are you analyzing your reviews? Are you constantly improving on what people don't like about your product? The company OXO, they make a bunch of household gadgets and items. If they have a product that's less than 4 stars, they'll kill it and they'll re-engineer that product because they say it's too damaging to the brand. So the first thing is every product or service has, whether it's Google reviews, Amazon reviews on your own website, customers are telling you what they think. So many times I see people not use that. We use an AI tool and we put all of our competitors' brands. So if we're working with, say, a cleaning brand, natural cleaning brand, we'll put their competitors' reviews into this tool, and in less than 2 seconds, we'll have what they hate about the competitors' products and what they love about it. And it's like, so constantly using that feedback cycle to improve your products, right? It's not that hard. So, we had a taste issue when I worked at the mom and baby company. People told us it was a taste issue. So I was like, it took them 18 months and me prodding and just saying, hey, there's not so much longer I can put lipstick on this pig anymore. And so, finally they improved the taste and now it's a 4.5-star product. So I think the biggest thing is, right, you have all of those reviews, you have all of that data, create a customer advisory board with some of your best customers, right? You can figure out who's spending the most with you, create an advisory board, and listen to them and let them help you, grow, sustain, make your company better.
So let your customer make your company become better and greater, which is great. I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this, and this is something you need to take note of. The customers are like the lifeblood of any business.
Right.
Without customers, you have no business to run. So you're just like doing charity, so which is great. A point to that word, you spoke about AI earlier, helping job become easier. Now we're in a age whereby things are changing and evolving rapidly, especially the landscape of business is constantly evolving. If you have to identify emerging trends, you have to have the right people with you who understand how these things are. You have to stay ahead of the curve. You can't just wait and hope, because things are evolving. Like tomorrow, we might have another things that people are doing that is different from what we are doing today. So now I want to ask a question. What trends do you see shaping the future of small businesses growth in the next decade? Because right now, almost every other business are doing content. To stay afloat, you have to be on TikTok. Not, you don't have to, but most people are on TikTok. I've seen a video on TikTok I know it was an advert. There's this person that said, "Oh, my dad just opened a shop and nobody came to buy anything. All the food were spoiled." And guess what? People seen that video, they were like, "Wow." Before you know it, they were making thousands, hundreds of thousands. Because people just, oh no, anytime I'm in Ohio, I'm just gonna come to that shop just to lend a hand. And you see, trends right now with just one snap of a finger. So what trend do you see shaping the future of small business growth in the next decade?
Yes, I think you're right. The playing field is leveled, right? Before TikTok, before Instagram, I mean, you would have small businesses couldn't afford, right? You'd have to pay millions of dollars for a TV ad or a radio spot. And it's like anybody can create content. I think content is still king for brands. And like you said, that's going to be a trend that continues. The other thing I think that's going to continue for small businesses is sort of this constant improvement. I think, what we used to do, we've cut like 50% of our work through automation and through software and tools. So you're going to continue to see that, right? If someone wanted to come out and quote you for a new roof, they used to have to come to your house and measure your roof, right? Now they just pull up Google Earth, they look at it. There's a software that measures how big your roof is, and they can give you a quote within 30 seconds. So I think, like you said, content is going to continue to be really important, especially with, Gen Z folks. And then also, I think you're going to see so much more software, so much more automation, and so much more nearshoring as well. The nearshoring has gotten amazing over the past few years.
You're right. So, like I said earlier, you have to be ready to adapt because adaptability is key in a rapid changing environment. So, a follow-up question to your answer: how can small business or business owners itself equip themselves and their teams to meet that future challenges that's going to come their way?
Yeah, that's what I think is great, Jay, about small businesses is you can be extremely nimble. You can go create a piece of content and know right away if it's going to work or not work, right? And that's the beauty of, like you said, TikTok. You get instant feedback, right? What's your engagement rate? What's your, and like if people love your content, that's great. And then you can go make more content like that. So, you don't have to spend forever trying to figure out like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work, right? I'm going to spend 6 months designing this, then I'm going to drop it in a magazine and hope it works. I think the fact that we can be so quick and so agile and so nimble when it comes to pivoting on what works and what doesn't is it's just a great time to have a business, right? We are able to pivot so quickly. We pivoted away from Meta ads to Amazon and and haven't looked back.
Right, that's right. So let us go for a quick break and we'll be right back shortly.
Welcome to The Point of View Consulting Incorporated. Our experienced team is here to help you achieve your business goals and maximize your success. Take the first step towards business success. Schedule a consultation with us today. Let's work together to achieve your goals and grow your business.
All right, welcome from the break, and I still have my beautiful guest here. Give us the right words, the right concept of moving in this world we are living in right now, especially when it comes to businesses and entrepreneurship. So she has been great so far, and she has been giving us a lot of points that I feel you should note down. So if you're just joining us, you have to just try as much as possible to watch the recordings when we get them down. So moving forward, I wanted to ask because I know the word says experience is the best teacher. So, and every experience or every situation teaches us something. So, my question would be, what are the most impactful lessons you have learned from your?
Yeah, I think a couple things, we sort of to conclude a little bit of what we talked about earlier is just really some of those Fortune 100 companies. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with so many A players at Dell. These were brilliant people. They're also very type A, very driven, very self-motivated. And so what you see in a lot of those Fortune 100 companies, or at least when I was there, is you see a lot of self-motivated, self-driven people. You don't need to be constantly motivating them. And I think that that's one of the the most effective things that you can do as leadership is find those right people who are self-motivated, where, they're going to do a great job and put in 110%, whether you're paying them a lot or a little. So just really finding those people and really making those decisions quickly. One of the mistakes I made was that we had this account manager who was on, and the CEOs of some of our companies were saying, that person is not doing you any favors. That person's not a nice person. They're not great to deal with. I don't know why you still have that person around. And as I told you, Jay, I waited way too long. And, and then one day, we woke up and said, okay, this is really detrimental to our company. But that person had already done damage. So, biggest thing is get rid of that toxicity as soon as you can, right? You've worked probably with leaders who have toxic employees and they let them stick around. And I know it sounds crass and harsh, but I feel like you're freeing them up to be happy, because if they're not happy there, they're going to be happy somewhere else.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Thank you for that information and that advice. So now, what are the most valuable lessons you learned or you've learned so far since starting up ROI Swift?
Yeah, I think I made a lot of mistakes along the way, right? I made people mistakes. I made client mistakes, right? The nice thing about not being a public company where you have to dance for Wall Street is, if people are jerks, we don't have to work with them. We can say no. We turn people away. If, really protecting your team and protecting your A players, right, is critically important. So we've actually had conversations with, I've had conversations with CEOs of big companies saying, hey, unless you're going to be nice to our team, we don't want to work with you. So we'll give you 30 days. 30 days, you either have to start acting like a human or find someone else to work with. And that's a scary thing to do, to turn away business. But, we sort of protect our A players at all costs. And that's one of the things that I feel is critically important with ROI Swift, is that the team knows that we have their back. In a lot of companies, your manager might not have your back, right? People don't leave companies, they leave managers, right? If they have a lousy manager, they're going to leave that company. But if you've got a great manager, you're going to stay at that company and be loyal and stay there for a long time.
All right. That's great. Thank you. And as we about to round up, I want to ask, for entrepreneurs that are just starting out, because there are a lot of people watching this and they've been procrastinating, and the year's about to end. January is by the corner. A lot of people have a New Year resolution of starting their own business or starting their own organization, quitting their job and getting started. What advice, actionable advice itself, would you give to them to set their business on the path to success?
Biggest thing is know your numbers, right? Know exactly all your profitability, and also just start scrappy. Even when I worked in big companies, when we were in small divisions or we were starting up a new division or a new product line, we were really scrappy. And I see too many people take investor money too early, lose a bunch of their company, waste a bunch of that money, and then next thing they know, they've got like 28% of the company and they're running out of money. I've seen it happen multiple times. And so, sort of that whole, stay scrappy, know your numbers, and don't overinvest in stuff that's not proven. We sort of test and roll out, test and roll out, test and roll out, and I think it's easy to do in today's environment. Like you said, you can create content, you can know immediately, invest in the stuff early on that's going to matter, and make sure you have that product market fit and that you're going to be profitable.
All right. You're going to be profitable. Just know your numbers. Very important. So, as we get to that point when we're about to round up, I want to ask a question. Not a question. It's just I'm just putting it together. It's a question and a statement, because we all know that resources are vital for growth. How can our listeners access more information on your work and scaling their ventures or their businesses? That's number one. So let me let you answer that before I follow up with the other one.
Yeah. Jay, would you go ahead and repeat that?
Yeah, I said, how can the listeners, people listening on this show, how can they have access, or how can they access more information on your work the works you've done,
Yeah.
about scaling their businesses. Is
Yeah.
there, a platform they can check out? How can they get to, learn more about you,
Yes.
about ROI Swift, the resources about scaling their businesses in general?
Sure. So, if you're on Amazon, you want to know if you can be doing better, you can reach out to us on our website, ROI Swift, SWIFT.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Carolyn Lowe or Carolyn Byron Lowe on LinkedIn. Just send me a message. Happy to connect. Always love helping other entrepreneurs on their journey to be successful.
So, like they said, there's a second one. So, like they say knowledge is power. So, what books would you recommend, or what resources would you recommend,
Yeah.
for those looking to enhance their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think there's a few I love. I love Good to Great. I love The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I love Traction by Gino Wickman. And of course, you can always find my book on Amazon if you want to figure out all the lessons and all the mistakes that I've made and leverage the things that I did right and avoid all the things I did wrong.
All right. So that's how you got all the information there. So you can always reach out and make sure you see from Jay, she can know where you're coming from, or from Winner Circle with Jay or Winner Circle podcast. Make sure you follow her and probably learn a lot, because she has a lot of information to offer, a lot of advice to offer you. And if you also want to work with ROI Swift, how would they go about it? Just reach out to you guys, right?
Just reach out, get on our website and send us an email or fill out a form.
As we round off, are there any steps or immediate steps that our listeners can take right now to start incorporating Fortune 100 strategies into their businesses?
Best thing you can do is network, right? Start talking to other entrepreneurs. That's one of the best things that I've done is I'm part of Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global organization of founders. Get a network, get a mentor. I think that's fantastic.
All right. So get a network. It's gonna be then when you create the network already, then you got the answer to the solution.
Right.
So the answer to the problem. So to be honest with you, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really want to appreciate you, and hopefully we're gonna bring you up on another segment to talk more about, because I know you talk about Amazon, a whole lot of strategies on moving through the tough terrain of entrepreneurship. I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this show today. And for my listeners, I want to say thank you for tuning to today's episode of the Winner Circle podcast. Thank you so much, and have a nice day, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
This is the symbol of invaluable silicon. This is the symbol of invaluable silicon. This is the symbol of invaluable silicon.